by miracle of sound. Alright, welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. This is episode 3 of Shadows of Self from Mistborn Era 2. We did chapters 10 through 13 this week. I am Midnight, your host, and I'm here with Mythic.
Hola.
And Darkness.
Hello.
We'll start with chapter 10. We started with Wayne's point of view as he gets slapped by a child of about 15 years old. The girl calls him a monster for apparently stealing her father's designs for electric lights. Because of this, her father had
chose the wrong thing.
Yep. Because of this, her father had died without much money or fame for all of his inventions. And she says that she is going to get famous with her own inventions and make the man that Wayne is pretending to be a name of the past. Wayne is quite traumatized by being told that he was responsible for this girl's father's death, even though it wasn't really him. And after that, he is no longer interested in the food or in pretending to be this man anymore, and instead he goes to find Wax. What did you think about Wayne just getting super triggered by this girl saying that you're the reason my dad's dead?
He needed his emotional support, Wax,
He did. He's like, yeah, this is no longer fun. I'm gonna go find my friend. What did you think, Mythic?
I'm chewing. I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny.
Damn.
I was kind of hoping she was going to be like somebody from his past.
Someone that actually recognized him, not just the recognized the mathematician. So we switched to Wax's point of view.
How good his disguises are, though.
Yeah, no, his
First of
disguises
all,
are great.
being a mathematician would have been my fucking nightmare. Because there's no way I would ever be able to imitate that.
Well, that's why he had Marassi get a book and speed bubble some information to him.
Yeah.
So he switches to Wax's point of view as he excuses himself from the conversation with the governor. Wax can't help but glance at every small source of metal in the room as Bleeder keeps speaking to him in his head. Wax plays dumb, pretending he thinks that Bleeder is a Kolos instead of a Khandra. However, Bleeder replies that Wax dances for harmony and calls harmony a poor excuse for a god. This makes Wax realize that she can't actually hear his thoughts like he can hear hers. So what do you think happened between Harmony and Bleeder that caused her to hate him, since we know from later on in the chapters that she used to insist on doing missions for him in the past?
He stopped letting her do missions. Or they just
What if it's one
because they lost their spike.
What if it's one of those cases where a mission goes wrong and someone they really care about got lost in that mission? But yeah, I'm assuming it's just a mission that went wrong and they lost somebody they really cared about, and so they're losing their shit now.
I see. So Wax asks why Bleeder killed Winston, and she replies that it was because nobody else would. Wax assumes she is trying to play a hero, but she refutes that. She insists that she doesn't consider people good or evil, and that she is neither the wolf nor the rabbit, but the surgeon. Wax can't help but notice the woman in red from earlier, who seems to be discreetly following him, as well as a male server who is pretending to just do his job, but he's not walking in the same direction as the other servers. Wax states that he follows the law and asks what Bleeder follows, but she doesn't respond, so he wonders if he spoke too quietly. Bleeder then states she wants to free everyone in the city, starting with Wax's father before the governor. Wax doesn't understand as his father is dead. He then spins in a circle and eventually makes eye contact with the server, causing the man to run. Wayne rushes out of the crowd and at the server as Wax aims his gun, as he isn't entirely sure what power Bleeder may be using currently. So who do you think this server was, considering Wayne later says that he's pretty sure the guy wasn't Bleeder?
He's gonna be a world hopper.
Somebody working for the uncle.
You think maybe he was just working for the set, and that's why he was kind of potentially helping
He's
Bleeder
oh
here?
shit, but it was for the wrong reason.
He's like, ah, shit, I've been caught. Gotta run. Just been spying on Wax for the uncle. So a bunch of the governor's guards then throw themselves at Wayne and Bleeder, but when they get up, Bleeder is gone and rushing out through the crowd. Or not Bleeder, as we figure out later. Wax aims his gun at her, but she apologizes that the death of Leslie was necessary. Wax shoots at her anyways, but they dodge and go out the window. Wax goes to follow, but Wayne stops him for a moment to join him. Wax tells Wayne to stay behind in case this is a fake, just like the previous guy, before following out the window and into the mists. So what do you think about Bleeder saying that Leslie's death was necessary?
Like a trigger? How Vin's sister's death was necessary for her to be who she was?
Mm-hmm. Do you think maybe it was important in some way for Wax to head back to the city, so they had to they had to have Leslie die so that he wouldn't be staying out in the roughs or something?
Yep.
What do you think, Mythic? Do you agree?
I agree with that, yeah. That sounds the most plausible reasoning, for sure.
Do you think, Bleeder for some, Wax's uncle is behind it, or do you think someone else is behind it?
Oh, I think Harmony's behind it.
You think Harmony specifically got Leslie killed off?
That couldn't be
Pulling
that far
strings.
off, actually.
Pulling strings, and that's why Leader doesn't like Harmony anymore. For
She
some
doesn't like
the
him because
same
maybe he's like killing innocents to like further his goals.
Can you imagine if she actually is just on a mission for him?
Sorry, what were you saying?
It would be hilarious. No, I agree with what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just killing innocent people, and they didn't like that, so they striking against. I like what Darkness said though too. Darkness theory is pretty funny. It's
So
just
this
a
is
mission
actually
for
all a
Harmony.
mission for Harmony, and Harmony's like tricking Wax or something.
Or tricking everybody in general. Yeah.
What if it's a mission for Ruin Harmony?
For like
Ruin Harmony.
maybe she still is working for Harmony, but she's working for like some
the
evil side of him.
Yeah. That's just what I'm gonna call him, Ruin Harmony.
Oh, what did you say there, Mythic?
Working for the Lord Ruler.
I mean, she was a really close follower of the Lord Ruler, so it might make sense that she would prefer like the ruinous side of Harmony over the preservation side.
First of all, that was her dad.
Yeah, it was their dad. Well, now Harmony's their dad, so got new dad.
She didn't like the stepfather, so
it's adopted dad.
Goodness.
She got orphaned, and then she got a new adoptive dad. So then we move on to chapter 11, which starts with a broadsheet summary. We first get an article about how Wax had been taken in by the constabulary, but had done a lot of damages to random buildings in the city, and people are apparently suing him for all these damages he's causing. There's also a mention of a disturbance at Lord Winston Innate's cottage. There's a mention of a cadmium misting using their powers to get through a boring meeting, which, fair. There is claims of a famous baker using flakes of atium on their pastries. There's an ad for aluminum doorknobs and locks. There's a job listing for a novelist. There's an ad looking for investors in electricity. There's an article on how young men and women have taken to street racing in cars. There's also a brief paragraph about Alamancer Jack and a man pointing a gun at him as Jack thinks about various accomplishments of his. So the one interesting thing I found in there was, what do you think about this baker who's apparently using atium on their pastries? And do you think that's actually atium, or do you think they're like pretending just for like money?
I want it to be actual atium so bad.
I just think they're lying.
It would be a good promotional, thing, but it'd be awesome if it were true, because that'd be funny as fuck. Also, didn't they have a thing where like they were blaming Wax about destroying someone's car?
Yeah, there was the article about him like destroying buildings and cars and street lamps, and they're like they're all suing him because he's causing so much damage. So we continue with Wax's point of view as he enjoys falling through the mists, thinking that people revere Vin as protecting those in the night, and that you could almost see her form in the mist sometimes. Wax then fires a bullet down to slow himself before asking the closest person where Bleeder went. The man he speaks to only saw the chair that was thrown out the window, and Wax hears a car speeding away from the area. He hesitates for a moment, glancing at the other options of where Bleeder could have gone before speeding off after the motor car. Wax then increases his weight and pushes on the top of the motor car. The wheels pop and the top of the car becomes dented, but not enough to injure anyone inside. He then jumps down and points his gun at the face of the cab driver, who claims that Bleeder jumped out of the car 2 streets back. Wax isn't sure if the man isn't Bleeder since they can change their face, and when he asks Harmony, Harmony isn't sure either. He gets the street name where Bleeder got off at, and then tells the man to head to the constable's office before hurrying off to try and find Bleeder again.
Bleeder got off. I said, "Oh, I bet Bleeder got off."
Oh my gosh! So what do you think about how unhelpful Harmony is in this situation? Wax is like, "Is this guy Bleeder?" And he's like, "I don't fucking know."
He's lying.
You think he's lying?
I'm 100% convinced that he's lying.
Do you think he's lying, Mythic, or do you think he really doesn't know?
I feel like Harmony is just useless.
Damn. So Wax then wanders down dark alleyways, using his steel sight to try and keep an eye out for anyone moving. Just as he thinks he lost Bleeder, he realizes he was led into a trap as a bunch of men from one of the nearby buildings begins shooting at him. Wax deflects most of the bullets with his steel bubble, but one grazes his arm as he pushes himself away from the men. As he ducks behind a half wall, he notices that the men firing are surprisingly using some aluminum bullets. He also realizes that they are distracting him as he sees some men trying to flank him with crossbows. Wax quickly shoots at the men trying to flank him, taking down 2 of the 5. As he aims at a third one, he sees them drop to a knife in the head. Wax is surprised and assumes it's Wayne, but instead it's the woman in the red dress from the party. Wax assumes that she could be Bleeder, but decides he has to trust her. He goes to push them up into the air, but the woman states that they have snipers on the roofs in case he tries that. So what was your first thought when the woman from the party showed up to help Wax?
What was my first thought?
Wow, it's so silent.
Yeah, I don't really remember what my first thought was on that.
Did you remember what you had
what
first?
What it was in the end, though.
Mm-hmm.
About what part?
Did you have any first thoughts about the woman from the party coming to help Wax before it's revealed who she is?
Oh, I was like, this is it. This is a bleeder.
Oh, yeah,
Because I was still, no, I was not convinced at all that it was that one dude that jumped out the window.
You thought for sure this was Bleeder coming to take him out herself?
Yeah, and mind you, I was still convinced that, like, when she started explaining, I was still convinced that it was probably still her, but
So Wax and Milan then begin to run, and Wax was surprised at how easily she did, even though she had ripped off part of her dress from below the knees. Some of the men shout as they run off, shooting wildly. Wax then pulls them out of the way of some men running out of a building and wonders out loud how many men Bleeder has recruited. Milan insists they can't be working for Bleeder, though, as she had worked alone in the past. Milan states that they'll have to fight, and then part of her chest turns transparent as she pulls a handgun out of one of her breasts. Wax is shocked as he...
Oh, man, wonder.
Wax is shocked as he learns that she is a Khandra, and she reintroduces herself as Melan. Harmony tells Wax into his mind that Melan can be trusted. Wax states that they've met once before, and she thanks him for remembering her. Wax then offers to take care of the men behind them, and Melan calls him a gentleman, before having him promise not to tell Tensoon that she's killed a bunch of people again. So what do you think about meeting Melan again?
Wonderful. I said you're a gentleman and a scholar.
we met her before. I know we met her before. I just don't remember when.
Yeah, so Melan is from Mistborn Era 1. She is the person who helps Tensoon when he's captured in the Khandra homeland. She's like basically...
Right, I remember. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she had like a weird true body. She was part of like the 7th generation who were like kind of like more eccentric, and she kind of considered Tensoon kind of almost like a dad because he was like the one who like trained her.
She sounds very my generation coded, not gonna lie.
I think you said that back in the day too.
Back in the day, how many years has it been? 300.
It's been like a year or two. So you read Mistborn Era 1?
Get it? 300. Anyway.
Yeah, I got it.
Yep. So yeah, what did you think about Melan being the one sent to help Wax?
I was more interested in the fact that she mentioned Tensoon.
Yeah,
Because like, he's still thriving.
Yeah, Tensoon's apparently still alive and well. He's hanging out. She's still hung out with him a bit, apparently. What did you think, Mythic, about seeing Melan again?
Meh.
Lon.
Also, what do you think about the fact that Melan seems fine with killing people? She just doesn't want Tensoon to know about it.
That's valid.
Probably
She's such
because
a bad
Tensoon is now the, leader or whatever of all of the Khandra, so...
I want to be like her when I grow up.
Stabbing people in the head with knives.
No.
And having burping contests.
Burping contest was the best part.
Wait, out of curiosity, they can hide shit inside their body too and just whip it out whenever, right?
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
So was she talking about her titties or was she talking about her body?
Yeah, so she was talking about she was hiding shit in her boobs. Like she gave herself big boobs so she could hide things well. She says at one point like these things are really useful, and she means like giving herself big boobs to hide shit. Well, people hide things in their bra, but like if you can actually use the whole mass of the boob to hide something, that's pretty good.
Girl, you think they won't lift that fucking thing up and just put it under? I've seen people do it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it gives you even more space if you can use your whole boob as a pocket.
That's fair.
I mean, you know all about that, right, Midnight?
Yes, I'm definitely a Khandra who can just, like, create pockets in various parts of my body to hide guns.
No, having big boobs.
I thought you were going to say, I'm definitely a woman. I was like, you're not?
So as Wax takes aim at some of the men coming towards them, Wax realizes that these men must be working for his uncle, which means his uncle and Bleeder could be working together. Wax then tosses a bullet casing into the alleyway and pushes himself out after it as he makes a large steel bubble to shove away any bullets and weapons near him. He then shoots the two men whose weapons are made of aluminum before giving a push backwards in hopes of helping Melan out. So what do you think about the fact that Bleeder could potentially be working with Wax's uncle?
Crazy.
I don't know. I don't think so.
You don't think?
I wanted to, because, bring it back to that sort of topic, but I don't think so.
Do you think instead maybe she just, lured him to one of their hideouts to, distract him or something?
Well, the thing is that she seems to know a lot about his connections to the past and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To his past. She seems to know a lot of connections to his past. There you go. Anyway. But yeah, so why wouldn't she just subtly trigger his insecurities? She's been doing that the whole time.
Mm-hmm. So Wax then goes about
talking. It's a good thought, Darkness.
Wax then goes about taking out the men, his mistcoat swirling the mist and confusing the men as they shoot at where he had been instead of where he was. Wax's guns are soon out of bullets, and one of the men shouts out that Wax is defenseless. But Wax isn't dangerous just with guns. He takes out Renette's grappling hook and uses it to pierce through the man's chest. He pulls the hook back and pushes it towards another and pulls it back over and over again. Sorry, I had to sneeze. One man then grabs for an aluminum gun and confirms he is from the set, but Melon kills him with a knife before he can shoot Wax. Wax then tells Melon that he is worried about Bleeder going after Lord Harms and gives her a code word to say and a place to meet up later. Melon runs off and Wax pushes a corpse into the air and his gunbelt down the alleyway to confuse any leftover shooters. He then continues pushing his gunbelt down the alleyway as he runs after it. Eventually, Wax jumps into a nearby canal and uses the mooring rings to push himself quickly through the water while submerged. Once he runs out of air in his lungs, he emerges from the water several blocks away. He takes a moment to catch his breath before pushing himself off towards Lord Harms's mansion. So what do you think about Wax being able to get away from the men without being shot?
Wax is talented.
No. You see, that's what we want you to think, you know?
Oh.
Technically, it could have all been part of the plan. Because you never know who's watching.
I just like imagining Wax becoming a fish. As he just he jumps into the water and he's just pushing himself through the fucking water in his fucking full-on suit and stuff.
He prefers the term merperson.
Oh my god.
Gosh. So let me get chapter 12.
He's just a well-dressed missile.
He is a well-dressed missile. So we switch back to Wayne's point of view as he interviews a woman from the governor's party as he waits for Morassi to come back with some constables. The governor was nearby, surrounded by a group of bodyguards. Once Wayne is done interviewing the woman, he asks about her shoes, which were apparently on sale last week. Wayne says you can't have too many pairs of comfortable black pumps. The woman seems confused, but tells him where she got them anyways. Once Wayne wanders away from
I love how after, though, he's like, yes, because if I had to wear the other ones that are in my disguise kit, I'd kill myself.
Yeah, he's like, they're so bad and uncomfortable. I need a pair of good, comfortable black pumps.
Like, what the fuck?
And he missed out on the sale.
He's such a vibe, bro.
I love it.
Type shit.
It's too bad that he missed out on the sale last week.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay full price for those fucking shoes, unless he trades for them. So
Trade, I wonder.
maybe he'll trade the pair of uncomfortable black pumps for the pair of comfortable ones.
Oh my god, I hope they go to a strip club someday.
Oh my gosh.
And he just has to merge as one of the fucking strippers.
He would too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
We would.
I would too.
So once Wayne wanders away from the woman, he thinks that the server Wayne had been Wax had chased hadn't been Bleeder. He had spoken to a bunch of the other servers and that guy had been the new guy that no one liked. He thinks they would have been a terrible choice to pick for Bleeder and that he had been a decoy of some sort. Wayne then heads over to talk to Drim, but Drim had apparently snuck off with the governor. Wayne is quite upset by this and punches the guard that was taunting Wayne over it. So what do you think about the governor sneaking off when Wayne was supposed to be keeping an eye on him?
That shit pissed me off so much because you're stupid as fuck, bro. Oh, and then the fucking guard was so smug and shit.
He was such an asshole. He's like, I guess you're not very good at your job, then, are you?
I don't know. I just thought it was pretty. I thought he was pretty cool.
Well, he got punched in the face for it.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you get punched in the face for saying the right things.
We switch back to Wax's point of view as he flies through Ellendale. He eventually throws himself through the window of Lord Harms's study, surprising the man. However, once he sees Wax, he grabs 2 guns and asks where the bad guys are, stating that they can take them together. Wax is surprised that Lord Harms has a gun, and he carefully points the gun towards the floor, worried that it's loaded. He then tests Lord Harms to see if he's actually Bleeder before telling him that he's in danger. Lord Harms asks about Steris, but Wax states that Wayne is watching her. Wax also wonders where he should take the man, as anywhere could be anticipated by Bleeder with how old she is. He then decides it's best to not even try to hide from Bleeder. So what do you think about Lord Harms buying guns and being ready to fight with Wax?
Okay. I mean, hey, you know, he's prepared.
Reminds me of those old people that try to be young, you know, and then they're just trying to be relevant again. Oh wait, you guys should know about that.
Yeah, he's just oh yeah, I'm gonna totally fight with you. And Wax is just sir, please put your guns down. He doesn't back down. We see where his daughters get it from. So we then switch to Steris' point of view as she wanders over to Wayne, who is sitting and eating his...
Where's their mother?
Don't know. We haven't had any mention of Steris' mother, so I think it's possible she's dead. Morassi's mother, though, is mentioned to be living out somewhere in, the suburbs or something, because she keeps sending Morassi angry letters.
You're telling me everybody's mama's dead, but everybody's daddy's evil?
I
don't trust his dad. I don't trust his dad.
Morassi's mom's still alive. She's kind of a bitch, it sounds like.
But for how long?
I don't know, for now. So we then switch to Steris' point of view as she wanders over to Wayne, who is sitting and eating a sandwich. There was a group of bruised men glaring at Wayne nearby, and she tells Wayne that the governor may need those men later tonight. Steris asks if this is how it is with Wax, to be left behind. Wayne just replies that Steris could break up with Wax and let him find someone he actually likes. Steris doesn't respond to that, just thinks that Wayne is extra rude to her compared to the others. So what do you think about the fact that Wayne has beaten up apparently all of the governor's guards except for the one that went with him?
Oh, satisfying, because fuck you.
They're just all in like a huddle together, glaring at him from like a few feet away. What did you think, Mythic, about Wayne beating up all the guards?
Wayne's not the greatest, you know. He needs to go down a peg.
Damn.
Maybe die again.
Damn. Get blown up again?
Yeah, or lose his hat. I think he should lose his hat.
Damn, that's rough. The hats are really important, you know. So Steris asks if Wayne knows where Wax went, and Wayne just replies that he could be anywhere since he's chasing Bleeder. He states his best to wait here until he comes back. Steris then asks if Wayne hates her, and he replies he doesn't hate her, he's just repulsed by her. He then goes to hang out with the guards that are angry at him instead of with her. Marassi arrives soon after and asks if Wax is here. When Steris confirms that he isn't, Marassi insists on Steris getting in the carriage and also calls out to Wayne. Steris is worried something more has happened since the constables aren't getting out to investigate the party. So what do you think about how rude Wayne is to Steris when she tries to talk to him?
That's some petty shit. He needs to calm down. What did she even do to him?
As far as we know, all she's done is try to marry Wax.
Maybe he's jealous.
What do you think, Mythic, about how rude Wayne is to Steris?
You know, honestly, I just thought it was like a sibling, like, rivalry kind of thing. Never looked past it.
So we switch back to Wax's point of view as he leaves Lord Harms at the top of one of the towers, which he had picked by using random numbers. It would be almost impossible for Bleeder to find him. Wax then goes off to find the governor, which takes a while and means that Drim was doing his job well. He eventually waits near the governor's mansion and sees a nondescript carriage soon arrive. He pushes himself onto the carriage and knocks on the door as he hangs off the side of it. After a moment, Drim opens the window and Wax asks to be let inside. Drim isn't happy about it, but the governor agrees, so they open the door and Wax pushes himself inside. The governor isn't pleased with Wax, so Wax offers to leave. He gives Innate a gun and asks Drim if he knows how to spot a Kandra. Innate insists that those are just myths, but Wax tells him that two of them were at his party, one trying to kill him and one trying to help. Innate eventually says that Wax has made his point. So what do you think about Innate being so reluctant to have Wax help protect him?
That's the security leader dude, right?
No, the governor specifically is, like, reluctant to have Wax help him. I mean, Drim also doesn't like it, but...
the other dude is the security leader, right?
Yeah, he's, like, the main bodyguard.
Right, okay.
Drim is the main bodyguard, and Innate is the governor.
Oh, okay.
What do you think, Mythic, about the fact that the governor doesn't seem to want Wax to help him, at least at first?
Seems a little shady.
There's a reason he doesn't want anyone but, like, the people he knows to protect him?
Yeah, that's not
he's doing something
at
shady.
all.
So Wax eventually gets Innate to agree to let him help with his security. Wax tells him that they'll need passphrases that they won't repeat to anyone, not even Innate's wife. Innate insists on a meeting with Milan tonight, and Wax says he'll have it happen. Innate then mentions that passphrases won't be enough with what the words of founding say about Kandra. He also mentions that Bleeder has access to the metallic arts, which scares Innate even more. Wax states the only reason the governor isn't already dead is because Bleeder seems to have bigger plans than just killing him. Wax suggests that Innate leave the city, however Innate says it would seem like he's abandoning the people and his career would be over. He states instead that he'll send his wife and children away to safety, but he'll stay. Wax suggests that Innate lock up in his safe room and only answer to their code phrase, which they agree on. They then get out of the carriage as a servant comes shouting, stating that the priest had been murdered. So what do you think about Innate refusing to leave the city?
I don't know, because, like, he was making the excuse of, oh, they think that I was a coward and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could definitely be a lot more than just that, so...
What do you think, Mythic?
Sorry, I'm back. What's up?
What do you think about the fact that Innate refuses to leave the city for his own protection?
You live here, man. Why would you need to go nowhere?
Because it's not safe.
He's protected. Yeah, he's protected.
Sure, he is.
He's protected, man.
I mean, that's what his brother thought, too, and his brother fucking got killed.
I mean, it's not like there's a person out there who can change their face and
Oh, yeah.
personality and memories and all of that.
It's not like someone
to
couldn't just
blend in.
become his most prized bodyguard or something.
Are we sure Wayne's not a Kandra?
As far as we know, we don't know. I mean...
He tends to meld into other people and become
That's
things.
what I said last time, I'm pretty sure. That's funny, because he literally has so many characteristics of just, like, being a Kandra.
Yeah.
He'd be like one of the most powerful conjurer, I feel like, if he was an actual conjurer. Like, imagine if he was like, he'd be so good at it.
I also said that, like, can you imagine if he had the ability to, like, store identity?
Yeah. Wax is just too, or not Wax, Wayne is just too good at it. So we switch to Merassi's point of view as she stares up at the corpse of the priest that had been nailed to the wall by spikes through the eyes. Blood stained the front of the man's white robes, and there was blood smeared on the wall where the man had flailed, as it seemed he had been alive when nailed to the wall. Eridol comes over and states that Steris is in a safe house, and then mentions that the church employees are either in shock or not cooperating with them. So what do you think about the fact that Bleeder nailed this guy through the eyes?
It's totally not a sign of, like, death or anything like that, right? Because who is death? It's not, Spike Eyes or anything like that.
Iron Eyes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's the name. Iron Eyes.
Or Marsh.
Nah, I like Iron Eyes better. Still, he's no longer Marsh. Marsh is dead.
Marsh is just fine. He's better than fine.
Yeah.
So do you agree it was maybe some sort of reference to death then, Mythic?
Yeah, for sure.
So Reddy then starts to get ready to speak with the church employees, but Eridol asks Merassi to handle it instead. She goes over to them and apologizes for what happened and that the constables hadn't been able to stop it. An older woman blames the Pathians for this, saying that a Pathian priest had come in and started speaking to the churchgoers. He had apparently claimed the survivor was a false god who hadn't died to protect people, but because of stupidity and bravado. Apparently his hands had been covered in blood while he spoke, and the priest had been hidden behind a curtain during the whole speech. So what do you think about Bleeder impersonating a Pathian priest?
They're doing the Pathian thing. Yay!
That seems to be a lot of their, like, go-to maneuvers,
Mm-hmm.
Because if you remember when they started the first scene where they, like, shot from one side and then shot from the other,
Mm-hmm.
and it started a whole fucking commotion because they didn't know who shot first.
Yeah, they're trying to cause a whole bunch of like infighting.
Yeah.
Chaos. Also, do you think
A whole lot of ruin.
Yeah. Do you think Bleeder meant what she said about Kelsier, or do you think she was just trying to say that to anger people?
What did she say about Kelsier? What did I miss?
She said that the survivor was a false god who hadn't died to protect people, but died because of his own stupidity and bravado.
She's not wrong, so I don't know.
I thought you were all about Kelsier, the survivor.
I am. He's still a god. I didn't say he's not a god.
Well, she says he's a false god. She says he isn't a god.
Still a god. He's still a god. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, Bleeder claims. That's what I'm saying. Do you think Bleeder believes that he isn't, or do you think Bleeder was just saying shit?
I feel like Bleeder probably believes in harmony more, so yeah. I don't think they're lying. Like, I think that that's what they believe. Doesn't make it true. Kelsey's still a god.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what really makes a god? I mean, come on.
Having the infinite power of the shards?
Nah, that's not true. It's just people, believing in you, that's all.
I think that's what makes a religion, not what makes an actual god.
Nah, that's what makes a god. I mean, what is a religion without a god?
Yeah, but as I'm saying, like, it doesn't give you powers just because someone believes in you.
He has powers. What are you talking about? He could talk to wow, I can't remember names.
Spook?
Thank you. He could talk to Spook. He could affect things in the real world. Like, he could make stick fire. Come on.
You think he could make a stick into fire?
I think he could.
Damn, that's impressive. But to be fair, Yasna probably could also make a stick into fire. Does that make her a god?
Yasna died too. She's a god. Sorry, here you go. She was died and reborn. She's a god.
Yasna's also a god. That's why she could make stick into fire. Shalana's not a god. That's why she could not make stick into fire.
I know Shalana hasn't died yet. She's gonna die first. Then she can make fire.
Yeah, and then she can make the stick fire. Fair. Stick is so powerful he only obeys gods.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You agree, Darkness? Do you believe anyone that can make a stick fire is a god?
Absolutely. Especially if they can convince it without, like, forcing it. That's how I get it. I am God now.
They just look at the stick and be like, you want to be fire. And the stick is like, yes, I want to be fire. Just instantly becomes fire.
Stick.
I am no longer stick. I am fire. So Reddy then starts to get ready to speak to the church employees.
Ready.
But Eridol has Merassi handle it. She goes over to them. I already read that.
You did.
Merassi then goes back to Eridol and Reddy, mentioning that she thinks Bleeder is behind this as well. Eridol sends Reddy to go get the church employees something warm to drink, and then talks to Merassi about how he doesn't think he can fight a Khandra, and he's too concerned about all the other issues in the city right now. Marassi, however, thinks that Bleeder might want the city to break and that she's been causing a bunch of the distress and riots in the city. Marassi also thinks that Bleeder could have been behind the broken dam causing the food issues. So do you agree with Marassi? Do you think maybe Bleeder's behind like pretty much everything that's going wrong in the city right now?
For sure. All Bleeder's fault. We're just gonna blame Bleeder. Because they don't make else here. We're blaming Bleeder.
Do you agree,
No other
Darkness?
reason.
Darkness, do you agree that everything is Bleeder's fault?
What part is everything?
Like the dam, the riots, the like...
Oh yeah, for sure.
Everything.
That makes sense, you know? A little spice up the economy type thing.
Spice up the economy. So when Aradel mentions that Bleeder may be trying to completely destroy Inet's reputation along with killing him, Marassi brings up how she has actually found evidence of corruption. Aradel agrees to look at it once this has all been figured out. As Aradel leaves, Marassi wonders for a second if he could be Bleeder, but then gets rid of that thought as Aradel had been around people when Bleeder had been at the church. So what do you think about how all of our main characters kind of need to question everyone they interact with because Bleeder could just be anyone?
I mean, isn't that kind of the reason that like people were so afraid to conjure it in the first place? Come on.
Yep.
They're conjure, man. And apparently they don't really have. It seems like they don't seem to have that contract anymore. So because the Lord Ruler no longer lives. So
Yeah, apparently Harmony is fine with them killing people if they want.
also, wait. I just thought about this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Darkness.
No, continue. Mine's not like relevant to a theory or anything like that.
But I want you to remember things, so
I'll remember it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So Bleeder states that Kelsier is a false god, right?
Yes.
Like, yet they followed the Lord Ruler, who also was a false god.
The thing is that wait, who states that? Who's the false god?
Bleeder, when she's been pretending to be the Pathian priest, says that Kelsier is a false god.
To be fair, Kelsier is more of a god than the fucking Lord Ruler ever was, but
100%. Right? So I don't know. I feel like it was just them sticking to their role. To be honest.
See, Lord Ruler is more of an immortal dictator tyrant than an actual god.
an immortal dick.
Yeah, you could have just left it there at Dick. Immortal Dick.
But I was
Darkness
gonna say
immortal. So.
anyway, I was gonna say, can you imagine this like completely like off the theory thoughts and all that? It's just like a little thing you could do in this world. Can you imagine a story where like a conjurer is interested in this person, right? And then that person is like fully married and everything, right? But their fucking lover passes away, and they just replace the lover with the conjurer. Like the conjurer does it,
or they just kill them themselves. They don't even need to pass away.
Yeah,
but the person doesn't know. Like
Yeah.
the person doesn't know that they've been like replaced. You know.
I mean, they
but
definitely could.
Here's the thing, right? What if instead they did know that their significant other
and they just found it anyway.
Showed up, and they just showed up later, you know.
Oh my gosh!
Like, can you imagine living their whole fucking life to like old age, and the conjurers like slowly like changing their appearance themselves to match their like quote unquote
they're aging.
Yeah, and until the very end, they're like, "Fuck, I can't die."
Yeah.
Which I mean, technically you could, but still.
Yeah, I mean they could just
take out their Darkness. Come on, I said explain how they die, Darkness.
Acid.
In vivid detail.
Yeah, they just immerse themselves in acid.
Lots of people die from acid every day. Remember, kids, don't do drugs.
Oh my gosh.
Remember, kids, don't do drugs. Or if you're going to use drugs, be responsible.
I sent out a very nice message.
Prescription drugs are still drugs.
Technically, coffee's a drug.
Exactly, caffeine is a drug.
Remember, kids, don't drink coffee.
Drug responsibly. Drug responsibly.
Remember, kids, don't drink coffee or you'll end up being a meth addict in the future.
Just a gateway
It's definitely
drug,
how it works. It's how it works.
It's a gateway drug, man.
Anyways, when Aradel mentions
milkweed, it's not a drug.
Oh my god, Starbucks is a drugstore.
Yes, and they don't even need a pharmaceutical license.
When Aradel mentions that Bleeder may be trying to destroy Inet's reputation along with killing him. No, I read that already.
Yes, you did.
Waxen enters the church and pushes himself up to where the priest had been spiked to the wall. Wayne is here as well, and Wax sends him off on an errand after a quiet conversation. Aradel mutters to himself angrily about Wax and Marassi learns that Aradel is not the biggest fan of him. Although Wax gets stuff done, he still causes a lot of trouble for Aradel to clean up. So what do you think about how, like, Wax is, like, obviously doing a lot of good, but again, like, he's causing a lot of trouble for others.
Mm-hmm. But it's worth it in the end. Because will the troubles kill someone?
I mean, that's the thing. It's obviously worth it because the constables haven't, like, fired him and said, like, you need to fucking stop. But it's still,
not only
like,
that, but it's not
pain.
gonna get them killed just because they get trouble. So you just fucking deal with it. Like, people's lives are on the line, and you're fucking complaining about other shit.
They're complaining about all the property damage and all of the, like, messes that they have to clean up behind him.
Oh my god, I gotta do cleanup duty. I wish they would have died instead.
Oh my god.
Like, no. Get your shit together. Marassi should be in charge of all of them. She should be, like, top tier general.
Marassi then goes...
I think Mulan should be in charge of all of them.
Milan.
Mulan, first of all.
Yeah, Mulan.
They'll make a man out of us.
Sure.
Uh,
they'll make a man out of you for sure, Darkness.
Oh.
Marassi then goes over to Wax, who mentions that the spikes through the priest aren't hemalurgic, although he still wants to test the metal composition of them. He and Marassi discuss how the governor is a Pathian and how this attack is from a supposed Pathian priest will cause more issues with the governor. Wax, however, wonders why Bleeder has involved him specifically. He then heads out a back exit and notes some silvery paint, mentioning to Marassi how he had taken the father comment from Bleeder to mean Steris' father instead of a church father. Wax then says he wants to go ask Milan some questions that he isn't sure he'll get answers from Harmony about. So why do you think Bleeder is interacting with Wax? Why do you think she's, like, involved him in this?
Who, the fucking vessel of Harmony?
Yeah. Do you think it's just because of his connection to Harmony, that's why she's involving him?
Yeah, no shit. If, like, if I took somebody's fucking side who is, like, supposedly bad, I'd have to go after the good side, because what's their job? To stop me.
Mm. Do you think it was more of just, like, I know Harmony's gonna send him to fix this shit, so I should, like, try and traumatize him in the process to fuck it with him in the meantime?
I mean, that's what I would do.
You agree, Mythic?
Yeah.
If you can destroy your opponent mentally before the fight even happens, then you've won the battle. You're like...
What were you gonna say, Mythic?
I said it's a good plan.
Mm-hmm. So then chapter 13, we switch to Wayne's point of view as he goes to the Temple of the Common Man, as he generally isn't very religious. And the Temple of the Common Man happens to be a bar. Wayne nods to the bouncer.
I said, that's interesting.
Did you guys realize it was going to be a bar first? It makes it sound very actual temple.
Why would common men? Yeah, why would common men need a bar?
Gotta drink their sorrows away, that's why. Didn't you know everyone was an alcoholic back in the day?
The way they actually wore. Wore? Why did they say it like that?
I don't know why you said it like that.
They actually wore!
They wore the beer as clothing. They didn't drink it.
I said it like war, as in like we fighting this war tonight.
Oh, I was thinking of like WORE.
Of course you are. Why are you just thinking about undressing people at midnight? That's nasty.
Yeah, wow. God.
So Wayne nods to the bouncer and asks about the beer, but the bouncer just says he has a short temper tonight. Wayne makes a joke about the man, that the man has called his penis temper before heading into the bar. Wayne then continues to treat the bar like a church as he makes the sign of the spear with spilled beer. Wayne pretends to have already be intoxicated as he asks the waitress for a whiskey. He then closes his eyes and listens to the conversations of the bar patrons. One complains about how Innate only cares about his reputation. Another complains that he works so much that he only gets to see his daughter once a week. And then another complains that the men that pay them for work are also the ones that own the homes that they rent. Wayne then wanders over to the bar, asking for whiskey again, but was given some water with lemon. Wayne thinks he laid on his accent a bit too thick. He then mixes the drinks for some men who are also at the bar with some sugar and lemon and then gives them back to them, making the men ask how he made the drinks so good. Wayne then pays the bartender with some aluminum bullets before going around the whole room and bettering their drinks. The final person he serves is a woman, and her cheeks change colors like the drink had, which surprises Wayne. No one else seems to notice, though, as they head off with their drinks. So what do you think about Wayne listening to the complaints of the common people?
I just thought it was funny how he was oblivious to the Khandra, but, you know. The obvious Khandra.
What Khandra? There was a Khandra?
What did you think, Darkness, about Wayne kind of trying to focus on the concerns of the common man?
I'm so concerned that there's a Khandra.
Wayne quickly realizes that the woman is the Khandra that Wax had mentioned, and she introduces herself. Milan then gives the passphrase that Wax had told her earlier. Wayne says he should try to get the whole city drunk to stop the potential riots, but Milan says that he could try to improve the working conditions and advocate for workers' rights instead. Wayne still thinks that getting the whole city drunk would make everyone happy. Milan then asks for another
better
drink,
option, honestly.
and Wayne thinks maybe he is religious after all. So what do you think about Wayne and Milan's conflicting views on how you could stop the people from rioting about their working conditions?
Wait, who's conflicting views?
So Milan, so Wax is just like, I should just get everyone drunk and then they won't be unhappy about anything. And Milan's like, or you could, like, help them with their horrible working conditions. He's like, nah, I'm just gonna get everyone drunk.
Drunk. Yeah,
I
drunk's
completely
better.
agree, though.
I agree. Drunk is better.
I see. So we switch to Wax's point of view, as he's now at the bar with Melan and Wayne. Marassi was also...
I mean, it's if only there was a thing out there, right? Like, maybe like a needle or something that would find out who was a Khandra or not.
Yeah, except it also kills people if they're not a Khandra.
I mean, sometimes you just take chances.
Sometimes
Start
you just
going
gotta
around
take
poking
the L.
everybody. Yeah, just go around poking everybody.
So we switch to Wax's point of view, as he's now at the bar with Melan and Wayne. Marassi was also there, and both she and Wax stare at Melan and Wayne in horror as they burp at each other. Melan is impressed by Wayne's burping skills.
I can make noises in other places too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wondering how he can be so much better than her when she's so much older than him. Melan even makes a mouth on her hand and burps out of it. Wax then speaks, mentioning that she isn't what he expected. Melan does not seem to like being worshipped and mentions that she'll send Vendel or one of the other Khandras if he wants someone to worship. She insists she's basically a child compared to the other Khandra, and that she never knew the world made of ash, as he has spent most of her time underground. So what do you think about how Melan's very much doesn't like to be considered kind of this fancy deity type creature?
Because she's not. She's just a creature.
What do you think, Darkness?
What was the question?
What do you think about how Melan kind of doesn't like to be kind of worshipped and stuff? She's like, no, I'm just a person.
But you're not.
That's valid.
But yeah.
We love humble queens here.
Wait, are Khandra the non-binary of this universe?
I feel like they're more gender fluid.
I think we talked about that back in Mistborn Era 1, where they technically don't have a biological gender, but they do have a gender that they more feel in tune with. I think the older generations are much more in tune with probably the gender they were when they were Terrace, before they got turned into the Khandra. The newer generations, I'm assuming, is kind of, they potentially would be more gender fluid or non-binary because they probably don't have any memories of being a Terrace person.
Were they ever a Terrace person, or were they
Yes, so every single Mistwraith was a Terrace person.
But no, I'm saying now, though. Nowadays, right?
As far as we know, there's been no new Khandra made, but as far as we know, that Khandra had to be made from a Mistwraith, and all the Mistwraiths that existed were from the Terrace people of the time when the Lord Ruler ascended.
There's no way they don't be fucking now, right?
They be fucking each other, yeah, for sure.
As far as we know, they can't breed. They can only be made.
So that's who?
Yeah, well, I mean, so could Kolas, and yet here we are.
Yeah, I mean, as far as we know, that the Harmony may have changed that. But considering what Melan says later about them being kind of a limited number of them, it sounds like they cannot reproduce.
I just haven't tried enough.
Maybe they're all just virgins.
Damn. So Wax notes that Melan was the Khandra that gave him his earring way back in the day, and she replies that she was wearing the same true body at the time. She apparently prefers true bodies over real bones, as she isn't very good at impersonating people. Bleeder, however, is really good at impersonating people, and she's only surpassed by Tensoon. Melan doesn't seem to think that Bleeder's insanity will affect how good she is at impersonating people either, since the older Khandra basically are completely instinctive with impersonations, as they basically have no personality of their own. So what do you think about the fact that Melan was the one that gave Wax his hemalurgic earring?
I mean, it makes sense considering that she's Harmony's little puppet or whatever. I'm starting to not like Sage for some reason.
You didn't like Sage in the last book. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but that's different.
No,
I didn't like him for... Yes, I didn't like Sage in general. But the Harmony's different. He's built different. And now he's built in a way that I don't like. So he should have left with his wife.
Damn. What do you think, Mythic?
Died with his wife, you mean?
Mythic, what do you think about the history between Melan and Wax, apparently?
I mean, hey, Harmony just infiltrating his life even more.
So Wax then asks how to kill Bleeder, but Melan states that they only need to remove her spike and then get her back to the other Khandra to help her. Wax, however, insists that she needs to be killed as she chose to remove one of her spikes so that she could do these terrible things. Melan replies that acid works, but removing the spike is really the best option as it will incapacitate her. Any form of physical damage won't do much to her. Wax then asks how to remove the spike, and Melan says the best way is to restrain her and then just begin pulling out her bones until they find the spike, if Melan isn't around to help them find it. So what do you think about the way to remove a Khandra spike is to just start yanking their bones out?
It's good to me.
Yeah, makes sense. It doesn't.
What was that, Darkness? I didn't hear you.
Oh, somebody
Speak up.
Never mind. Let me not say that. Actually.
Oh, yanked all your bones out? Yeah.
So Waxen asks how to spot a Kandra, and Milan gives him 2 syringes that, when injected into a Kandra, causes their shape to droop a bit. However, it will kill a normal person. She states the best way to figure out someone is a Kandra is to catch them in a lie about the person they're impersonating, or to catch Bleeder using a metallic art the person she's imitating doesn't have. So what do you think about how hard it's going to be to figure out who Bleeder is?
Why they're so scared of Condra?
I want them to fuck up that needle.
I'm more concerned of how they actually know that it'll kill a human being.
Yeah, they've obviously done some human experimentation with this.
Ooh,
Right?
Tensu would not be happy.
So Milan then mentions that she doesn't like the thought of killing Palm because of how few of the Kandra there are left. Only about 300 currently. Wax, however, states that it doesn't matter what species you are when you start killing people like she has. Wayne then has Wax take a minute to be more empathetic. Wax then asks for more information about Palm, and Milan says that she barely had a personality of her own as she was constantly on missions for the Lord Ruler before the Catasandra. Milan even thinks that Palm may have impersonated Inquisitors, which may be how she learned about using chemolytic spikes to give herself powers. After Harmony took over, Palm had been insistent on going on countless missions for him and had barely spent any time in the homeland. So what do you think about Palm being the Lord Ruler's personal Kandra?
I mean, doesn't shock me the way that they act.
You're right, especially considering how Kandras are in general, where they like adapt their targets, stuff to become them.
Mm-hmm. Also, imagine how powerful a Kandra could be when they're not concerned about being controlled by like Harmony or something. If they could just apparently sounds like spike themselves with like a fuck ton of hemolytic spikes and have a fuck ton of powers.
I'm telling you, my horse needs to be a Kandra. Ty Hemalurgy, Ty Allomancy, and then Ferrochemy. So that covers like all of them for my horse.
Yeah. Your horse could be the ultimate Kandra Inquisitor.
First of all, what the fuck do you call a unicorn with multiple horns?
A multicorn?
They try multicorn, yeah.
Multigreen.
The uni, it means one, so...
I know, that's how I'm like...
Spikes.
Hold on, let me search this up.
Technically, they would only need 2 horns, because I think there's a certain hemalurgic spike that lets you take all of the powers from someone, so if they get a full Mistborn and a full Fair Chemist and just spike each of them, you'd only need 2 horns.
No, it's a multicorn. It is.
Nice.
That what?
Why
is it? Wait, does that mean that a rhino is a bicorn?
Yes. If there's bicorn, is there also gay corn and lesbian corn?
Oh my god.
Yeah. All you gotta do is change the corn with a different word,
Anyways, where do you think the Kandra homeland currently is? 'Cause apparently they still have a Kandra homeland somewhere.
If they're still living underground, I'm gonna lose my shit. Oh my god, please let them be Sky people.
Skypia? They're in Skypia right now?
I want them to like grow wings and fly down to the earth.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, they probably could, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying.
You just eat a bird, and you become a bird.
They can make their own wings. The fuck?
Yeah, they have, right? They could just become their own thing. Have wings.
So Milan briefly mentions potentially getting one of the older Kandra to visit Wax to tell him more about Bleeder. Waxen says he wants Milan, Wayne, and Marassi watching the governor. Marassi, however, wants to report to Aradel first, as well as do a small, why can't I think of a word? A small errand. Milan agrees to go with her. Wax tells her to show her nature to Aradel, although Marassi says she already told Aradel about there being Kandra involved. He also wants them back with the governor as soon as possible. Wax also has them exchange codes to prove themselves to each other later on. Before they leave, Milan takes Wax aside and they speak quietly. She mentions that the other Kandra are also looking for Palm, but that they are timid and eccentric, and she doesn't expect them to be able to find Palm. Waxen thanks Milan for the earring, even though she was only the delivery girl. So do you think any of the other Kandra are going to be able to help find Palm, or are they going to be useless?
I feel like everybody's useless. What are you talking about?
To be fair, a lot of the Kandra were useless last era.
Except for Tensoon and Milan.
Pretty useless too.
Well, the only reason Milan was fucking useful was because of Tensoon, so...
So then we have our overview questions. Do you think Bleeder will be able to kill the governor, or will Wax and the others be able to stop her?
Nah, governor's totally dead.
I hope so.
What other chaos do you think Bleeder may cause in the meantime before the book is over?
Wait, are we almost to the book ending?
We got 2 more episodes left. We're over halfway.
Well, it's a lot.
Well, there's gonna be technically would it count if we say the aftermath of the religious stuff?
I guess so. I mean, she's kind of already caused a bit of chaos with that, like, but yeah, if you think she's gonna like even incite it further.
Well, yeah, because there hasn't been like any type of outbreak, no riots or anything.
I mean, I'm sure the survivorists are gonna go after the Pathians for apparently killing their priest.
The city's gonna burn, bro.
Do you think it's gonna be as bad as the riots in the capital from like book 1 of Mistborn Era 1?
I think they're trying
Everything that you said in that sentence triggered me right now.
Why?
The state of America.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fair.
I was like, where is she taking this?
No, I was talking about the Luthadel riots after like Calcier dies.
Yeah, do I think
don't think it's gonna be that bad.
Riots in the United States? No.
I don't think it's gonna be that bad.
Also, do you think
it's gonna be worse?
Do you think Meilana is going to be a permanent part of our main group now, or do you think she's only going to kind of be around for this book?
Oh, I hope she's permanent.
Yeah.
She's my favorite so far.
Sorry, did you say wanted her to be around?
Same.
Yeah.
I want her to be around, yeah.
Fair. Do you guys have any other thoughts or theories?
I theorize there's gonna be a spoiler coming up.
Spoiler for what?
I don't know. It's gonna come from you though.
Yeah, for sure. Think you're gonna spoil us in something? We're due for it.
Wouldn't be the first time. Won't be the last.
I know, Yvonne.
So thank you to our Patreons who are still our Patreons. We appreciate you. Hubris, Kaladin dies in book 3, and Kyle. We appreciate you guys very much. Thank you so much for supporting us. And thank you to all of our listeners as well for supporting us. We appreciate you very much. And have a good week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.